Hola familia, Francisco
And Amia,
at Cervantes of Training and Rehabilitation.
and this is Dog Talk. Today we're going to talk about a client, a sort of disturbing case. I was trying to figure out what word I would use to describe this case and why we feel the need to talk about it, and I think it's a little disturbing. So we'll start by breaking down what happened.
Yeah, the handler of this dog, it's like a medium-sized dog, energetic dog. Just had a surgery on one of her back or hind legs.
It's her ACL. She had her ACL repaired.
And so apparently she had that done, and then she was wearing a cone, and while healing, and this incident happened maybe like 2 days or like really fresh after the surgery. This handler, or the owner of this dog, had it's living in an apartment. When you say it's an apartment,
Yeah, with roommates.
with older people around, and they're young people, and it seems like this owner has been doing a lot of work with other trainers, and she's done a great job.
She's had her dog for years, many years.
Oh yeah, she's
I want to
not
say
like
at least
a year
6
or 2
or
years
something
old.
like that. She's
More
had
than
her dog
that.
that.
7
Well,
or-
no, that's how old
but
she
how old
is.
she is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and she's been working very hard this whole time,
She
6
has been,
years,
and
because she knew her dog was reactive, and so she was very protective of her dog and very careful to make sure that she was taking care of that.
Yeah, and so while living in this in an apartment like that, it seems like one of her roommates invited someone new to the picture without letting her know, and but more than that, they gave that person a key from the apartment, so that kind of like makes
Right.
it bigger than just someone showed up.
So that person
And,
walked into the apartment
randomly,
without any notice.
right? Without
Yeah.
any notice, and so this dog was kind of like, "Hey, who are you?" Right? And but more than anything, the dog was. I'm not sure the whole story, but the dog was doing just fine, and so. But what happened here is that this person came, and most likely is a person that a dog lover, came really close. She saw the dog, and then the condition of the dog was. She probably felt really sorry about the dog, and you know, like how we have those human feelings that we just wanna say, "Here's my love, and I hope you feel better." But then, what happens with those feelings that you have, and then you trying to put those human feelings on the dog. So what happens is she went down and
snuggled the dog in the cone, like put her face in the cone.
She instead of
to
like
snuggle the dog.
right, instead of like in the body and any part of the
And,
body, she went straight to the head
Yeah,
inside the cone,
Yeah.
probably to kiss the head or put
whatever.
I don't know, and so I mean this dog.
You got it. Yeah.
This dog has every reason, because fresh from like she's an active dog, and then when you have an active dog that
So you didn't
it's
make
dealing
clear what
with-
happened. So this person got bit. in the
well
face.
yes she did, sorry.
Yeah.
I just
Pretty severely.
she
from
reacted,
What we've
but
been
what I'm trying to
told.
say, she reacted, but it has every reason to react, because the way the human approach her, and what I'm trying to say here is that she has every reason because of feeling pain from what happened to her knee.
Well, and who knows? She
And-
probably was given some sort of sedative, or she
Who
had to have
knows?
taken
Who
drugs
knows?
as part of the surgery.
Right.
So she was probably like kind of freaked out
Well, she
already about
loaded
like what
and-
was going on in her body.
Yeah,
and
and
how she was feeling, and so she was already off. She was
right,
already
and
off.
and so
She was unable to exercise because
that's
she
what
needed
yeah.
to rest, and so she had a lot of pent up energy in there also.
Well, if she's an active dog, if you have an active dog and something like that happen, you're gonna have a lot going on around, or with the dog is gonna have a lot around. And then so human went in there, put the head inside or the face inside of this dog's face.
Right, and when you think
And
about
the
it, the
cone
cone, they can't see very well.
No,
So it's
they
already
hate that for
throwing
a
them
reason.
off
hate
that they can't
that
see
for a
very
reason.
well. I mean, that's a really good way to make a dog feel cornered.
Well, yeah, it's like
Without actually
you can't-
shoving it in a corner. I mean, it's like
see
this
anywhere.
cone is like the corner.
We
already
had dogs
you-
that they're already like they
trapped
feel
a
really.
dog in,
It takes
yeah.
a little bit before they
Mhm.
get comfortable, so they feel really, especially when the dog is it has some, it's insecure. They're gonna feel that trap. They feel trapped.
Right.
But
So it's
it was bad because the dog bit and it bit. It seems like it was an in and out. But she did because the human came really close to the
She
face.
got a good
She got a good,
amount.
and it made a good damage. But
So
here,
and the reason why we're making a point to talk about this is that, like, dogs bite. Okay, what is important about this particular scenario? It's that this owner worked very hard, knowing that her dog was reactive, to protect people and protect her dog. And this was an instance where she had no control, and there's no way you can say that this is her fault. Somebody coming into her apartment that she didn't even know, someone coming in without telling her,
you don't just go to someone's.
and then I think the
else
main
house.
right. Well,
I
and
mean,
then the
dog
main
and-
part is, when are we going to start? Because this dog owner got in
big trouble.
Big trouble. And the dog now has a record and one more bite, and it's a mandatory euthanasia.
Well,
So-
and it seems like these people were trying to put the dog down. They wanted more
Right,
than
they were
that.
going after the owner
they wo-
anyway to see if they could get that process going before giving the dog, like
But it
making
seems
sure
like
the dog
even
couldn't
more
have
than
another
that.
chance.
Right,
basically.
even more than that, because she was saying about. Well, anyway.
So let's look at how we greet dogs, because obviously there's a problem, and this is just like, I mean, it's an extreme example of something that you talk about. It's something that you talk about all the time, and that is like how us humans have lost sensitivity in the way that we interact with dogs.
Right.
And obviously this is a very clear case of someone who did not notice, pay attention, bother to look to see how the dog was
really
feeling,
disrespectful
or what the
to
dog
them.
really wanted.
Right, it's really disrespectful.
It's one of those examples where it's like, it sounds like this person did that to try to like make themselves feel better. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
definitely wasn't what the dog needed.
No, obviously
And she
not,
definitely
but-
wasn't paying attention to what the dog needed. So it's like
Yeah, it's
one of those, another
it is one of the
selfish human moment.
It is. And here's the thing, we have to become better dog handlers before we show our human affection to the dogs, because that's how that's what makes the difference. If you show the dog that you know how to handle different interactions or even a structured walk, then you're showing the dog that you're a handler before you put that you know what you're doing, and then you're not going to put your human feeling first, and so that is kind of separates yourself with that particular scenario where if you just go for it and then you feel like those feelings that you feel are going to make the dog feel better, then that's when we get in trouble. And here's the thing, I don't think some people get it completely until it happens to them. Until something happens to them that they're like, but here's the thing, a lot of the things, when it does happen, those people automatically blame the dog.
I think that there's a stereotype for dogs. Like that we think that all dogs are the same, and that is that wiggly, excited, licky dog. And it's like, if you assume that this dog is that same type of dog, then you assume nothing's going to happen and it's all going to be fine. But it's like, dogs have unique personalities.
They all have.
And it's
like
sad
humans. We
because
have different
so many
personalities.
dogs that have very unique personalities aren't wanted.
Well,
Because it's like their unique personalities aren't
no, but more than anything,
ideal
it's
or
intimate
aren't
space.
understandable.
It's an intimate space, and then whether it's a dog or a human, that behavior is the same, whether you want it or not. If you're feeling like crap, and then I come with like,
I actually do feel like crap today, so
and
that's
then,
good.
And I
So
feel
good.
with like, oh my god, and then you don't know me, and then if I come with like strong, and then I
Right.
put my face in your face, automatically you're just
Right.
gonna react.
We
That's
would
full
be-
behavior
we would be
regardless dog
right. We would be
or
upset.
humans.
We would be upset as
Yes.
humans if
Just
somebody
think about
did
it.
that
If
to us.
someone
Yes.
shoves his or her face
Exactly
in your
right.
face strong, you're gonna react.
Someone
That's
you don't
just-
know,
that's
and you're
just
healing from a
behavior.
surgery, and you have
And
this
behavior is
cone
behavior
stuck to your
regardless.
head.
And so, but we automatically say, well, the dog is guilty of this because. So that happened, and then automatically they said, the dog, you have such a horrible
They
dog.
said it was a vicious dog.
A vicious dog.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so just
So
to clear
wait a
something
second.
up.
You went directly towards a vicious dog then,
Right.
and stuck your face in its face. Like, obviously, you didn't think this was a vicious dog before.
And here's the thing: this girl was not a vicious dog.
She was nice.
I worked.
She was
with
a nice
her,
girl.
and
Yeah.
she was like any other dog, excited, and I just grabbed the leash and I did what I would do to any dog. I just turned the handler part, like that I showed the dog that I am not gonna shove my feelings in like I'm not
On
gonna
her.
put my feelings
You're
on
not
her.
going to push yourself on
Yeah,
her.
I'm not. And so that separates. It's like a mutual respect. I call that a mutual respect. I'll respect your intimate space, you respect mine, and then we can be friends. So it didn't take me long, to be honest. I work with this dog, and all I had to do is just grab the leash, show her that I need her to do something, and make her feel good about herself. And then guess what? I was touching her all over the place,
You were
all over
in.
her body. And then I wasn't, what?
Nothing.
I wasn't just doing this, I love you. I was just all over her body, and then, and it just, I didn't feel threatened at all. Because I was close to her, I was just touching again. I was just myself, and I was just like, I didn't get anybody. The dog did not get upset with me, but that's the difference. The difference is that you cannot. Here's another
I know. That's what I
creature
was laughing.
right here.
There's like a sneaky little bugger back there.
So he wasn't here. He likes to watch, but he wasn't here when we worked with this lady. But yeah, so I didn't have any issues with this dog. But you do have to make sure, or people that do understand or wants to understand or help other people with their dogs. Just, I don't know. I think that there are ways to approach dogs.
I think everyone needs to know how to approach a dog. And I think
Right.
isn't it like, okay, so like there are some basic things that everybody can remember. And I think we should close today's talk with what those things are. And I can tell you what you have taught me, and then you can tell me if I've missed anything or whatever. But like if you're in someone's home, you're entering somebody's space, ignore the dog. That's what you've said to me.
Sonia.
If you're entering somebody's home with a dog, ignore the dog. Okay? And then, so something else I've seen you teach people a lot is on the street, which it's like, it's so funny because when you say ignore the dog when they go to somebody's home, but then
they don't really ignore them.
They don't. Well, that's true. But then you're teaching people how to greet a dog on the street, and it's like you shouldn't greet a dog on the street either.
You should.
And to tell you the truth, like if I'm walking my dog, like talk to me, say hi to me, and check in with me, and ignore my dog, because if it's Maja, she's excited. She gets excited, and her excitement doesn't help when we're out. It can actually make
it was
a walk
really bad when
difficult
she was young. It's just
right. So, and that's the same with a lot of dogs. And so it would just be very helpful if you could just like leave my dog alone.
Well, right.
But you do teach people how to approach a dog if they're desperately in need of touching a dog. And that is not, so you can correct me, but I've seen you teach this before. Not, so this is a dog, not straight on and down, right? So like people are like, oh my God, I love your dog, woo! Like that. Do you see my hands? You talk about meeting eye contact. This is the dog's handler. Meeting eye contact with that human, right? So the dog's down here, and then this is the handler, and then standing side by side with the handler. The dog's over on this side, and talking with the handler for a little bit, and then switching, coming over to this side.
That could not work. We can do that in another time.
I need a third hand. This is so good. And then the dog.
What do you do? What did I always say to you? Or what do I always say to you when you go to someone's house?
To avoid the dog.
How?
Walk through it. No, not walk through it. Walk like when you walk close to a dog, don't look at it or like pet it until somebody says you can, or the owner.
Yep.
Does.
Just to tip a little bit really quick about this, about ignoring, because if any dog would be overexcited at the door. That's just nature. So if the dog is overexcited at the door, a lot of the times is that those few seconds of meeting that it can change the whole conversation. So if you ignore while the dog is overexcited, then until the dog relaxes more, then it can change the whole interaction. Just think about it, because it is really upsetting to see
this
happen because we don't understand dogs.
Yeah, it wasn't the dog's fault, and it wasn't the owner's fault. Like there was not negligence there.
I swear, I work with this girl, this dog, and I did not have any. I didn't feel threatened at all.
No.
And she was around as well, and the dog was all over her as well, and it just didn't make sense.
It was a nice dog, yeah.
But and then she was what I like to call is that that the dog understands the concept of respect. So all I had to do is show her the way, show her some guidance, and the dog responded, and she said, "Now you can touch me." But that's not what we do. We do it the opposite way. We want to touch before, and then the dog responds, and we're like, crap.
Yeah, and it's always the dog's fault.
It's always the dog.
And then the dog is vicious.
How sweet is that? How sweet is that? Is the dog.
Every time.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, and it's the same thing with like adoptions too. Like this dog isn't gonna work for me because there's like a snap or like a
right.
And it's just, I mean, that's getting into a whole other thing, but it's just like they're not allowed to have unique personalities.
No. And some
they
dogs
have to fit in a very, very small little box of what our idea of a dog is.
And
like sometimes
some people's minds
don't even like being pet. Like I've seen dogs where you go to like pet their head and they're like,
you know, we
like,
have 2 dogs.
They're more interested in the ball you have in your hand
Right.
or the frisbee. You know, like they're just like dogs that are
don't.
just, that's
They
not
don't.
the part of their interaction with you that's most enjoyable.
Right.
Like there are dogs that are like, oh, you throw that ball and they will love you so hard. Oh
Right.
my gosh. But
Or
we like the physical touch.
right. And you know, something like that could happen to you because you reach and then boom, it happens. And then
Well,
you're
and
gonna
that's
say
why we
that's-
say if you saw that Tuesday training tip, don't reach for the sniff. And we talk about that a lot.
We
I talked
did.
about that
We
in our
did.
last
Well, it's the
episode of
same
Dog Talk, Good Dog Talk, because I did it. And it's just because that's just like something we fall back on. That's something that we do, that reach for the sniff, that tentative thing. It's another one of those, like, are you really listening to the dog moments? Because everybody, I think that's the thing about the reach for the sniff, is people think that there's that gesture is to say, I'm listening to you.
Right.
But, like,
Not really.
we just need to become more sensitive,
Yeah,
more
yeah.
aware, more educated.
Yeah.
I think we've lost. So we've lost. It's funny because I want to say animal husbandry, and we definitely have. Animal husbandry, I looked it up. It doesn't apply to dogs apparently, but it should. We lost animal husbandry. I looked it up. It's like cows, horses, farm animals. We definitely lost that. And with that, you know, we lost horsemanship. And, you know, this word doesn't even exist, but it should. We lost dogmanship. Like, we're not connected enough. We don't know what to do.
Right.
And like, our whole setup is not ideal
Right.
for a dog. This, like, couch potato,
Yeah.
house hippo. You know, we go for a 5-minute walk, a stroll where we smell things and pee. They've lost their job.
Right.
We've lost our ability to lead. We've lost our leadership abilities.
We lost it, to be honest. We lost the ability to handle that dog.
To expect more from
expect
our dogs.
more, to say, I understand, we have a mutual respect, we have that understanding, let's work together. And let's not cross each other's boundaries. See, and the dog knows it's there. But as soon as we do the opposite, then the dog grows to be confused. And once that happens, they just, that's it. That, you know, and you can own a dog from very young, and then all of a sudden 5-6 years or year doesn't really have a time. As soon as they're mature enough to understand what they're doing, and the brain, they're showing you those signs, and then they get frustrated at some point, and then that's when they snap. And once they do, they're just going to continue doing it because you're still not going to understand what they're saying.
Well, and I think what I like a point here that I'm hearing that you're making that I want to emphasize is the idea that a dog can shift and change throughout their life in the same way that we do. And it's funny because I feel like people get a dog and they expect that dog that they get from that they bring home that day, or that they see in the shelter, or that they picked out, or whatever. They expect that dog to be the same dog that they're going to have, you know, months or years from now. And dogs are constantly shifting and changing.
They do.
They're
They
picking
do.
up new things.
They do.
They're developing, maturing. It seems so strange that, like, we don't allow that.
We don't.
We shove them in a stereotypical box that has to fit in our lives, and they're not allowed to have unique personalities. And so then it's like, even if
They're
you
not
get
allowed
a
to
dog that
communicate
you can
as well.
shove in that box, doesn't mean they're always going to stay in that box. And
Yeah.
we're not prepared enough for when they
We're not.
don't.
But
Yeah, it's funny, because you always talk about horses, like when working with clients, you're like, it's like with horses, and then you have to be like, have you ever worked with horses? And like, very few people are like, yeah, I've worked with horses. Everybody else is like, no, actually I haven't. But they all imagine that like rearing up thing that horses do. And like just like the general like sort of unpredictable, you know, from the outside perspective, that sort of unpredictable behavior that's a little bit wild. And I think that's why you give that example, like that
It is, because
unpredictable
it's
behavior that's a little bit
unexpected.
wild. And it's like,
so they're gonna show it.
and it's like it's very animal, you know. It's like our idea of animal, using instincts.
Right, those are instincts.
And so
They're
I think you
going to-
use that as an example to try to be like, dogs do that too. Dogs do it too. And then I think people go, oh, and they get it. It makes sense. But it like takes that, pointing it out, emphasizing it for people to realize it. It's like not in everyday life do we realize that dogs are animals with instincts that can behave in a way that feels uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So what is the moral of this story? What do we want our listeners to take from this?
If you can just kind of like keep your hands to yourself, keep your body to yourself for a while until you kind of like
Until you gain sensitivity.
Yeah. Until you kind of feel it and then you sense that everything is going to be okay. Or if you don't know, why don't you just do that and wait for the ask the owner, hey, what do you think about this? Right? And then have a conversation about it. But yeah, it's really sad to hear that happens to this poor lady, but also to this poor dog, because now the dog is the bad guy, the bad one here in this picture, and it is really sad because if you know some just it's really sad.
All
But
right.
yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Dog Talk.
See ya.